streets are quiet tonight, but beneath the surface, something evil stirs. A familiar, twisted smile that once haunted Derry now stalks its latest prey. His name is Pennywise, and he's been waiting, watching, ready to feed again. But this time, it's not just Derry. No. He's spread his darkness far beyond the quiet town. The sound of children laughing has always drawn him in, but what he truly craves is fear. Pure, unfiltered terror. And for years, he has slumbered, feeding in the shadows, only to re-emerge when the air is thick with dread. The darkness is suffocating. Every step feels like a struggle, every breath tight in the chest. Sarah, a young girl who thought she could outsmart the stories, now finds herself trapped in the labyrinth below the town, deeper than she ever imagined. Her flashlight flickers, casting jagged shadows on the walls that seem to twist and move with a life of their own. She tries to stay calm, to keep her breath steady, but the cold air presses down on her, like a hand around her throat. Behind her, faint but unmistakable, she hears it. The laughter. A low, rumbling chuckle, slowly rising in pitch. Pennywise is near. He always toys with his victims first, letting their fear build to a fever pitch before he strikes. She can hear the squeak of balloons and the scuttle of unseen creatures just beyond the reach of her dimming light. Panic grips Sarah as she stumbles through the tunnels, her heart pounding in her chest like a drumbeat, announcing her doom. She sees flashes of movement, a hand, a face, that terrible smile. She runs, but the walls seem to close in, the tunnel twisting on itself, leading her in circles. Every turn she takes only brings her closer to him. Suddenly, there's a flash of red. A balloon floats toward her, bobbing in the air, silently mocking her attempts to escape. Sarah stops, frozen in place. Her body refuses to move as Pennywise steps out of the shadows, his form impossibly large, his eyes glowing with a hunger that she can feel deep in her soul. She tries to scream, but no sound comes out. The walls around her seem to breathe, pulsing with dark energy, as Pennywise closes the distance. "Oh, don't be scared," he says in that sickeningly sweet voice, a grin spreading across his painted face. "I just want to make you float, just like the rest." In a desperate move, Sarah reaches into her pocket, pulling out a small silver object. It's a knife, a relic she found, something she hoped could hurt him. But Pennywise just laughs. The blade glints in the dim light, but it's no match for the ancient evil before her. His form begins to shift, flickering between shapes. A clown, a monster, and something far worse. The shadows around her grow thicker, the air colder, and in the blink of an eye, Pennywise is upon her. Sarah swings the knife, but it passes through him like smoke. His laughter fills her ears, drowning out all other sound. The ground beneath her trembles, cracks forming in the stone as the walls close in. Pennywise leans in close, his breath cold against her skin. "Time to float," he whispers. And in that moment, Sarah realizes the truth. There is no escape. There never was. Pennywise is not just a monster. He's the fear that lives inside her, inside all of them. And as his claws close around her, pulling her into the darkness, she knows she's lost. Pennywise smiles as he watches the last flicker of hope drain from Sarah's eyes. It's always the same. Fear, despair, then acceptance. And in the end, they all float. He lifts her, effortlessly, as though she's weightless, and with a gleeful chuckle, he tosses her into the abyss of his lair. But it's not just Sarah's story that ends here. Pennywise is far from finished. The town above remains blissfully unaware of the horror unfolding beneath their feet. The balloon balloons continue to float in the streets, unseen by most but felt by all, a nagging dread, a creeping sensation in the back of their minds. Pennywise thrives on their fear, even if they don't know his name. As he retreats into the shadows of his lair, the last echoes of Sarah's scream fade into nothingness. He'll wait. He'll feed, because fear is eternal, and no matter how many times they think they've defeated him, Pennywise will always return. He's patient. Fear never dies. It only waits for the right moment to rise again. And when that moment comes, Pennywise will be ready, his grin stretching wide as he whispers the words that haunt every survivor's mind. You'll float too. Long before he took the shape of a clown, long before he terrorized the town of Derry, Pennywise was something far more ancient, something far more terrifying. An entity known only as It, an immortal, shape-shifting creature from another dimension. But It didn't just wander into our world by accident. No, Pennywise has been here for millions of years, waiting, lurking beneath the surface of reality, feeding on fear like a parasite.
His true form, no one knows for sure. The human mind can't fully comprehend it, but what we see, the clown, is just a mask, a convenient disguise to lure in his victims. Children, their young, innocent minds are the easiest to terrify, and terror is what it craves. Pennywise doesn't just kill. He feeds, consuming fear like a grotesque banquet. But why the clown? Why the smile? Because there's nothing more terrifying than a mask of joy concealing death. In every corner of the world, there's an innate fear of clowns, a fear Pennywise understands all too well. And when he looks at you, with those soulless eyes and that painted grin, he's already deep inside your mind, unraveling your deepest, darkest fears. The people of Derry believed they had banished him, but Pennywise is eternal. He isn't bound by time or space, nor is he limited by the human concept of death. He comes back. He always comes back. And when he does, there's no place to hide. Entire generations have been lost to the terror of Pennywise, their stories swallowed by time. But the fear remains, buried deep in the heart of every small town that dares to forget him. A small town much like Derry, where people live quiet lives, is where Pennywise strikes next. At first, it's nothing more than a rumor. Stories of a clown spotted near the woods, of red balloons floating in places they shouldn't be. But then, the disappearances begin. A boy named Jacob is the first to go missing. His friends last saw him near the old drainage tunnel by the park, a place the kids dared each other to visit, but never truly believed was dangerous. But when Jacob vanished, the air around the town grew heavy with fear. The town had forgotten Pennywise, but Pennywise had not forgotten them. The nights grow longer, and the town's people can't shake the feeling that they're being watched. Parents keep their children close, but it doesn't matter. Pennywise doesn't need to be seen to spread terror. His presence is felt in the silence, in the sudden gusts of wind, in the way every streetlight flickers just a bit too long. And then, the laughter starts. That high-pitched giggle that echoes through the empty streets at night. A sound that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere all at once. People lock their doors and pull their curtains shut, but deep down, they know it won't help. Pennywise is already here. He's always been here, and the more they try to pretend he isn't real, the stronger he becomes. One by one, the children start disappearing. Parents report strange nightmares their kids are having, visions of floating red balloons and a face painted with evil, yellow eyes that seem to follow them in the dark. Fear spreads through the town like a virus, and Pennywise feeds on it, growing stronger with each passing day. As the sun sets each night, the red balloons begin to appear, floating silently through the streets, waiting. And with each new balloon comes the knowledge that Pennywise has found another victim. There's a place that no one dares to go. A dark, forgotten corner beneath the town. An old, abandoned well deep in the sewers. This is where Pennywise makes his home. A place where light has never touched, and the air is thick with decay. The smell of damp earth and something far worse lingers in the air. But that's not the most unsettling part. No, it's the quiet, the unbearable, oppressive quiet that settles over anyone who dares to enter. Beneath the town, below layers of concrete and darkness, lies the heart of Pennywise's domain. It's a maze of tunnels, twisting and turning, leading deeper into a place that feels like a different world entirely. A place where fear manifests itself in physical form, seeping from the walls like a living, breathing entity. The walls themselves seem to move, pulsing with life, like the very structure is feeding off the terror of those who enter. The deeper you go, the worse it gets. The air turns cold, too cold for comfort, and the shadows grow darker, swallowing the weak beams of light from any flashlight that dares to cut through the blackness. At the center of this labyrinth lies Pennywise's true lair, a cavernous room lined with the remnants of his victims, old toys, discarded clothes, and bones, so many bones. In the middle of this room is something far worse than anyone could imagine. The floating bodies, suspended in the air, motionless, trapped in a state of eternal terror. Their faces are frozen in screams, their eyes wide with fear, and their bodies wrapped in the tendrils of some otherworldly force that keeps them just out of reach of the living. And among them, Pennywise waits, grinning, his yellow eyes gleaming with hunger as he watches anyone foolish enough to enter his realm. This is where he takes them, the children who vanish without a trace, and once you're inside, there's no way out. The walls close in, the tunnels twist, and the darkness becomes impenetrable. Every step forward is a step deeper into Pennywise's trap. The air grows heavier, pressing down on you like the weight of 1,000 nightmares. And then you hear it. That laugh. That horrible, piercing laugh that echoes through the tunnels, bouncing off the walls and coming from everywhere at once. No one is ever truly safe from Pennywise. Not you, not your friends, and certainly not tonight. If you enjoyed this story, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We'll be back with more fascinating stories from the world of crime. Until then, stay curious and stay safe.